At 7:30, I'll call this meeting to order. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance if you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence or silent prayer as your conscience finds appropriate. Thank you. Please be seated. Members of the council, you have an draft agenda before you. Are any changes required to that agenda? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Very good.
No changes for me.
Okay, I'm hearing no calls for rewriting the agenda, which is always good. So if I might, that's the wrong agenda. Sometimes documents pile up in my PDF readers. Today is one of those days. Please give me just a moment. Okay, members of the council, no changes required. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Seconded.
Say the motion from Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there any discussion of the motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
Just that Councilmember Foe needs to get quicker on the draw tonight.
He's back.
Okay, are there any public comments on the agenda, on the motion to approve the agenda? Okay, if there are no comments, no discussion, then I will move immediately to a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Enyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
Councilmember Kellogg.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Our presentations, and item number 1 is a proclamation, and I will do that. So let's get going. Proclamation in honor of Black History Month 2024. Whereas the mayor and council are proud to join with town residents, business owners, visitors, and employees, along with individuals and communities throughout the country in celebrating February as Black History Month and acknowledging the 2024 theme being African Americans and the Arts. And whereas in February 1926, Dr. Carter G. Woodson initiated a one-week celebration of the historic contributions of Black people to American life. And this celebration corresponded with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. And in 1976, this period of celebration was expanded to include the entire month of February. And whereas when Black History Month was officially established, President General Ford called upon the public to, quote, seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And whereas the town of Riverdale Park recognizes that now more than ever, Black history must be taught, discussed, and celebrated throughout the year. And whereas still today, racial injustice and inequity against Black people are widespread. And whereas racial justice and inequity are destructive to our values and our future and must be local, state, and national priorities. And whereas the town of Riverdale Park is committed to racial justice and equity, diversity and inclusion, and to supporting policies, programs, and initiatives that aim to eradicate systemic racism and undo its historical damage. And whereas our town's cultural diversity enriches our community and Black heritage is an inseparable part of that enrichment as it weaves throughout our history, profoundly influencing every aspect of life. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Riverdale Parks Mayor and Council do hereby proclaim February as Black History Month and call on everyone in our community to work for racial justice and equity this month and throughout the year in recognition and celebration of Black history. Y ahora en español, una proclamación en honor al mes de la historia afroamericana 2024. Considerando que el alcalde y el consejo se enorgullecen de unirse a los residentes de la ciudad, propietarios de negocios, visitantes y empleados, junto con individuos, comunidades de todo el país en la celebración de febrero como el mes de la historia afroamericana, y respetando el tema de 2024, afroamericanos y las artes. Y considerando que en febrero de 1926, el Dr. Carlos G. Woodson inició una celebración de una semana de las contribuciones históricas de los afroamericanos a la vida estadounidense, y esta celebración se correspondía con el cumpleaños de Frederick Douglass y Abraham Lincoln en 1926. Este periodo de la celebración se amplió para incluir el mes de febrero, y considerando que cuando se estableció oficialmente el mes de la historia afroamericana, el presidente Gerald Ford pidió al público que aproveche la oportunidad para honrar los logros de los afroamericanos, a menudo olvidados en cada área de actividad a lo largo de nuestra historia. Y por cuanto la ciudad de Riverdale Park reconoce que ahora más que nunca la historia afroamericana debe enseñarse, discutirse y celebrarse durante todo el año, y considerando que aún hoy la injusticia racial y la inequidad contra los afroamericanos están muy extendidas, y por cuanto la justicia racial y la inequalidad son destructivas para nuestros valores y nuestro futuro, y deben ser prioridades locales, estatales y nacionales. Y considerando que la ciudad de Riverdale Park está comprometida con la justicia y equidad racial, la diversidad y la inclusión, y con el apoyo de las políticas, programas y iniciativas que tienen como objetivo erradicar el racismo sistémico y deshacer su daño histórico. Y considerando que la diversidad cultural de nuestra ciudad enriquece a nuestra comunidad y la herencia afroamericana es una parte inseparable de ese enriquecimiento a medida que se teje a lo largo de nuestra historia, influyendo profundamente en todos los aspectos de la vida. Ahora, por lo tanto, se resuelve que el alcalde y el consejo de la ciudad de Riverdale Park proclaman por el presente febrero como el mes de la historia afroamericana y hacen un llamado a todos en nuestra comunidad a trabajar por la justicia y equidad racial este mes y durante todo el año en reconocimiento y celebración de la historia afroamericana. Muchas gracias. That brings us to the second presentation, which is on the fiscal year 2025 budget, capital improvement project updates and projections.
So good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Tonight we have Director Paul Smith. Unfortunately, our always relied upon town CPA, Mr. Jones, is unable to be here this evening. He's been out for several days, so I appreciate putting this together. We will in the future try to have these types of presentations in advance available for your review. So our apologies for that. Paul, if you can walk the council through.
Sure. First, I would like to start by acknowledging my colleagues, Director Lewis and Director Shelton and Director Barnes, who had a pivotal role in project planning, budgeting, and executing all CIP projects. You can go to the next slide. And we ask that we're seeking mayor and council input tonight. Feel free to ask questions at any time. So just jump in if you have a question. And we want to start off with a brief overview. Next slide. Okay, so tonight we want to give a brief overview. Then we want to talk about the project progress and project funding shortfalls and project FY 2025 proposed projects and next steps, feedback, and input. At the next council meeting, we will present a detailed financial review of all ongoing CIP projects. And so we thought we would also today take time to give you a brief overview of the ARPA update. We talked about it a few months ago, and we just wanted to do a brief update. As you see, we have 6 different categories here, starting with public health. And right now, we are within budget. We budget 190,000 and we've spent 125. We have 64,999 to spend on a negative economic impact, which would include things like the farmers market dollar program. We spent we budgeted $1,695,469, and we've spent $1,183,853, and we have $511,616 remaining to spend. On the infrastructure programs, we've spent we budgeted $2,588,814. We spent so far $1,067,311, and we have $1,485,798 remaining to spend. In acquisitions, we budgeted $1,386,186, and we've spent $1,046,163. We have $375,727 remaining to spend. On revenue replacement, we budgeted $115,000 and we spent $115,000. On administrative, we've budgeted $489,580 and we spent $329,097 thus far, with leaving us with $160,483 left. For total budget was $6,465,638, and total expenditures at $3,867,014, and remaining funds are $2,598,624. So as you see, we're working hard to make sure that we meet our December deadline. And if there are any questions here, we'll take them.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Hello. Okay.
Councilmember Lingua, you got there first, so go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Is there another document that has a breakdown of these expenditures?
Yes, I can get you a breakdown.
That would be great. If you could email me that, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Sure, not a problem.
Councilmember Kellon, you had a question, I believe? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question about farmers market. According to his narration that we have 1,695,469. He said they spent 1,183,853. The remaining is 511,616. So I want to know how they spend this money in farmers markets to spend 1,183,853. Are they giving how much they give individual on this amount of money? And how many people they give? Yeah, I want to know, because this is huge.
Director Shelton, can you help me there?
I think I can help you, Mr. Smith. Yes, the negative economic impacts total budget here is not strictly for farmers market dollars. That is just one of the programs. Typically, the farmers market dollars cost roughly $250,000 to $300,000 each year. And I believe right now we have 223 households participating. Every week, those households that are participating receive about $25 to be used at the farmers market. And we estimate that the households have between 3 and 4 individuals. So a little bit over 1,000 individuals. Does that answer your question, Councilmember?
Yes, because if I can, because this 1 million that you guys pay, 1,183,853. You said you have 300 individuals, which you give $25 every month. Am I correct?
We have approximately 223 households, and we estimate that there's going to be about 3 or 4, probably 3 or 4, or maybe 4 or 5 even sometimes, individuals in each household. So on an individual basis, it's probably close to 1,000 individuals, if that's what you're.
Okay, well, I would like you to put that in paperwork, email it to me. Let me study it. Can you do that for me?
I can certainly follow up with that. Yes.
Yes, email it to me. Let me study the whole scenario so that the next legislative meeting I will comment on it. Thank you.
And Mr. Chelton, if you can incorporate our rental assistance program, I believe that's in there as well, right? So everything that's in negative economic impacts, just put it all together and we'll send it to the full council.
Absolutely. I'll take the items from the budget book.
But let me say this. He said they spend this money. He did not include rental allowances. He said it's for the people individual. I think he said you have like 300 people or 1,000 or whatever. $25 every month each person. So it's now that you, the town manager, is telling me the rental is included inside there. So it look confusing.
Well,
That's
let me, if I may, let me.
Okay, hold on, let me finish. That's why I said, let him make a paperwork. Everything that he spent on this farmers market program and send it to me so that I can study it.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes, we will take care of that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mail it to me. Thank you.
Okay. Just for clarity, when I brought up the farmers market, I just said, for example, the farmers market is included in negative economic impact. So there are also other things, as town manager Lestitian has said and Director Shelton has said.
But I think there'll just be a full breakdown of the negative economic impacts distributed to the entire council.
That's correct. We're just doing a high level tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and staff, for the presentation there. First, I just wanted to ask if I could get a copy of the spending breakdown that Councilmember Lingua asked. If I could be just copied on that email, and I'm sure some other of my colleagues would like had the same question, but so maybe just everybody. But definitely, I'm interested in having that if that is possible.
We will send that to the entire council, sir.
Sure. Thank you very much. And then just on the issue of the negative economic impacts line here, just to confirm what I heard there, that it's 223 households with approximately 1,000, give or take, individuals included in that.
Yes, approximately 1,000. I just saw the email this
Sure,
morning
yeah.
from me that we're using it. And I think it's about 223, but I could be off by about 10. So
No
not
problem.
that many households. Yes.
All right, thank you. You said not that many households?
About approximately that many.
About that many. Okay, yeah, I heard you right. The next time. Cool. So it's if we're thinking 1,000 individuals within those families, again, best estimate. And am I correct that the 2020 census found that within our town, our population is 7,351, give or take? I'm sure you don't have that right in
Yes.
front of you, but
Yes.
ballpark. And then again, maybe the mayor will look at me crossways again for trying to do math in a public forum, which never goes well for me. But if my math checks out, that's about 13.5% of individuals in our town that are experiencing food insecurity, aka hunger.
That's about right. I'm not
And
gonna,
that's
I'm not gonna pick nits on decimal points here, but let's just say 1 in 6 round numbers.
right. And that is just the farmers market dollars funding, not rental assistance or anything else, any other sort of assistance we're able to provide to folks in our family that are experiencing housing insecurity, experiencing hunger, that sort of thing. That's right.
Yes, that number. And actually, I just found the email. It was 232. So I was underestimating. There's 232 households currently, and yes, that is strictly for the farmers market dollars. That doesn't include other households that we've assisted with other programs like the rental assistance.
Understood. Thank you for that clarification. And in your experience, Mr. Sheldon, or anybody else from staff who could speak to it, is generally in these types of programs, is the if there are any issues with it, is it from being too generous, people who don't necessarily need it being able to take advantage, or that for various reasons, structural and otherwise, it's hard for us to get this kind of support to everybody who would qualify and need it?
I know that typically when we are searching for grants to help continue the funding for this program, most federal and state grants that might be able to assist do require more restrictions than our program has. But we think that we don't want to limit the number of households that we can assist. So it's a balance that we're trying to maintain here. So we're still seeking a grant that allows us this flexibility to help as many people as needed, while also, yes, trying to find grant programs to help fund that.
Outstanding. And Mr. Lewis, I'm sorry, you looked like you were about to say something. If not, that's fine too, but I didn't want to step on you.
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate Mr. Shelton, Mr. Lewis, and everybody for doing that little two-step with me. I love this program. I will continue to support it. I know that staff is always looking for opportunities to be able to do more for our most challenged citizens in our community in terms of finding more grants to support this kind of funding and whatnot. I'm just very happy that this is something that we can offer to our residents, and thanks to staff for administering this program and seeing that it gets as much help to as many people as we can. Thanks.
Councilmember Inyang, I'm going to recognize you, but I do want to point out that according to the census from 2022, 13.7% of our population is under the poverty line. So that number matches up pretty closely to the number of people we're assisting. Councilmember Inyang.
Well, thanks for the clarification. I always appreciate sharing the numbers. I guess for me, my question's always around is around the context behind the numbers. The 2.5 million or so that are remaining, is that number above or below what's expected? Do you feel comfortable that it'll be spent in the time frame? Because I know these have kind of sunset clauses. And then is there anything that of note that we should be aware of for tracking later on?
John, you want me to take that one?
I'll weigh in some on this. So our plan has not changed. We have funds allocated across various projects. We've made some tweaks back in October 2nd. There was a staff presentation about moving some monies around. And then again on November 6th, I believe, we gave an update on ARPA, confirming that we had moved some monies around. Later in this presentation, you'll hear a recommendation to move some ARPA funds around to help keep other projects moving. We're monitoring ARPA closely, and I think I can speak for the staff team that we're going to work together to make sure that we meet the federal obligation definition or the definition of expended by the end of the calendar year. Paul, is that accurate?
That's very accurate, and I agree, we're closely monitoring, and that's why we want to keep it before the council.
Thank you.
Okay, directors. Well, are there any public comments or questions since there's a call from Director Smith? I'm not seeing any, so go ahead.
Next slide, please. We want to talk about project progress here. Next slide. In this section, we're going to cover projects to be completed in that are or to be completed in FY 2024. Next slide. The first project is the street furniture and waste receptacles. We'll complete that project and we're within budget. Streets and sidewalk improvements, we will complete that project and it's within budget. Curb ramps and improvements, we will complete that project. It's within budget. Defibrillators, AED and pads, they are within budget. Vehicle replacement for the police, we will complete it and it's within budget. Police weapons, within budget. Flood mitigation, rain garden within budget. Pollinator garden within budget. Community garden within budget. CDBG fund sidewalk improvements, 54th Avenue will be completed and it's within budget. Next slide. Town Center underpass, we anticipate being completed this year within budget. Technology improvements, finance within budget. Technology improvement, police within budget. Traffic sign project within budget. Office equipment or office furniture within budget. Vehicle upgrades and replacements for public works, public safety, and neighborhood services will be completed this year, all in budget. Street lights, poles acquisition will be completed and within budget. Next slide, please. And council chamber camera system will be completed this year within budget, this fiscal year within budget. 54th Place Pocket Park and Tot Lot will be completed this year, but it's not within budget. And we have additional slides that we will cover later on the projects that are not within budget. Municipal center renovations, we will complete it hopefully this year, and it's not within budget. Building weatherization and stabilization within budget. Neighborhood safety camera system within budget. E-message board within budget. Office furnishings within budget. Trolley trail lighting within budget. And those are the projects that we will complete in 2024.
And if I can just comment, Paul, if anybody has questions about any of these projects, Director Lewis can speak to most of them, and Director Shelton for the ones that he's working.
Councilmember Lingua, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Being that it's been brought up, could we get a brief overview on those two projects that are running over?
Yes, sir. And actually, we have separate slides for those. So just a few slides down in the presentation, what we're going to talk about where the projection is over budget and how we plan on filling the gap.
Okay, well, I'll happy to wait till that time in the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Smith. The sidewalk, could we go back one slide, please? Thank you. Where am I not? There we go. Yeah. Sorry, I'm like and what I see on my screen, like you can see my screen. The streets and sidewalk improvements is the traffic study for Natalie Place involved in that, or the traffic study / reorientation?
Actually, no, if I may chime in. So these were the list of about 13 road improvement projects that were identified under the FY 2024 budget. So these are the new curb ramps, new crosswalks, the improvements in Riverdale Park Station, overlays, and those types of projects within our public rights of way. The Natoli project is teamed up, if you will, with the town center, parking lot redesign, and those projects are not yet out the gate, though we have completed the overall planning process for getting them underway.
Understood. And I know we have discussed that. I mean, obviously we've discussed it before since the status of it, I should say, we have discussed more recently, but my memory is a bit foggy on where we stand on the Natalie Place project. And if that's a more complicated answer than we want to spend time on right now, I'm happy to take.
As I said, we are combining the Natoli Lafayette project with the town center parking lot redesign. And so we're still in the phase one, if you will, is planning the project, developing the schedule, identifying our strategies for outreach and engagement, those kinds of things. So we hope to have an engineer on board within the next 30 days. And then we can officially launch the design process for both of those projects.
Outstanding. Thank you for that clarification, and sorry for my poor description of it. The police vehicle replacements, that is the vehicles we voted on a couple weeks ago that were already funded and then became available, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sure, I assume it's some an administrative hang up of why they're on this, like it's in progress and it's happening. I'm not assuming that we're behind on anything other than just like the administrative time that it naturally takes.
No, actually, this list includes things that are already complete and that will be completed.
Okay.
So when we, and Paul, correct me here, but when you write projects to be completed in 24, this will be completed in 24. Some of these things have already been completed.
That's correct.
Gotcha.
So the last one, CDBG funded sidewalk on 54th Avenue, that's been done for 3 months.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
All making more sense now. Sorry, there was a holiday in between now and then, not to mention my brain doesn't always work. Okay. Thank you for those clarifications. That's all I've got on this one.
Before we move on, are there any public comments or questions on this section? Okay, let's keep going.
In this section, we'll cover FY 2024 projects that we will continue into FY 2025. ARPA public Wi-Fi, we will complete this, will go into 2025 and it's within budget. The pedestrian walkway at Queensbury Road security will be completed in 2025 and it's not within budget. The welcome signage, the town common seal, town website project, the 47th and Taylor Linear Park, Mount Rose Park, Adam and Emily Plummer Park, Town Center Trail and Parking Lot redesign, and Department of Public Works building renovation will all be completed in FY 2025, and they are all within budget. And the final list of projects that will continue into FY 2025, the building demolition and parking lot development, CBDG funded sidewalk improvements, 47th and 48th sidewalk project, Natoli Place, Lafayette Avenue redesign, and stormwater improvements will be completed in 2025, and they are all right now within budget. And if you have any questions, I'll take them now.
Yes, sir. I
ahead.
have an observation here. At Queensberry Road, before you reach to the 43rd Avenue, 43rd Street, there is a stop sign over there which does not have a solar light. All the rest have a solar light, unless that one. I don't know how when you guys gonna fix a solar light on that place, because when the place is dark, you cannot see it. So that's my observation on Queenberry Road before we reach to the 43rd place.
Mr. Mayor, can we have?
Mr. Tambania, do you get me?
I believe he was waiting to make sure you were done with your question. Go ahead, Mr. Town Manager.
Yeah,
Yes,
that one has it got a solar light, and when it is dark, it can never recognize the stop sign. Sometimes when the fog is around and everything, so I don't know when they're going to fix it. Thank you.
Yes, and Mr. Mayor, may I respond?
Please do.
Council member, we have a number of stop signs that haven't been transitioned to the solar lights yet, and we've had some of the stop signs that have been transitioned damaged. We've had some stop signs run over and things of that nature, and we've had others that just have stopped working. So Director Lewis, who oversees our Department of Public Works, has a list of stop signs to be upgraded, as well as ones that are damaged and need replaced. So it's an ongoing process. Is there a particular one you said, sir, on Queensberry? I didn't catch the cross street.
After I passed the health building, like going towards Queen Chapel Road, when you pass the health building, the stop sign is over there. In fact, you never have a solar light on it. They never fix anything on it. It's standing there. All the rest, they have it, unless that one.
Yes, and I don't believe the ones on that part of Queensberry are ours. I think we still have our standard stop signs there. The flashing ones over there are most likely Hyattsville's. And we have probably 2, maybe 3 going out that we have on the list to replace. So Ms. Lewis, or Director Lewis, if you could make sure that we have that as a priority.
Okay, will do.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Director Smith, please feel free to go ahead.
So we discussed this a little, and we wanted to get into more detail to talk about the project funding shortfalls. So the municipal center renovation, right now we're anticipating or projecting a $75,000 shortfall. And the way we thought we would fund it is to transfer from building demolition and parking lot development unrestricted funds, $75,000. That $75,000 will have to be backfilled, or we will need to replace it in the 2025 budget. But in order to keep the project on schedule and to complete it, we think this transfer is necessary.
Do you want to pause there, Paul, and see if there's questions on that instead of going through all three?
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Lingua, your mic is live. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Cause for the shortfall?
Director Lewis?
We've had a number of change orders since this project began. We're actually up to change order 5. There are 2 change orders anticipated, additional change orders anticipated. We continue, or the contractor continues to find interesting conditions when they, look behind walls, tear out walls, look for the support systems for the expanded roof. So change order 6 that's pending will add some additional work to shore up the support beams for the expansion of the second floor. Our project architect is very involved in solving the issue and identifying the most cost-effective way to address the problem. We also have finishing within the council chambers that were not initially budgeted or included in the contractor's estimate. So that's pending change order number 7. So again, this is an existing building. We're pretty surprised at the conditions that were found supporting the existing second floor roof the roof, second floor of PD. Those things certainly wouldn't meet code today, and it's questionable whether some of the support system elements that were installed years ago met the county's requirements or building requirements at that time. And so these things are costing or requiring additional work, and there are additional cost estimates or cost increases related to them. And so we will have 7 change orders by the time the project is done, up to $1,154,000 of including the original price, the contractor's price, and 5 change orders is where we stand today. And we're anticipating another $75,000 in change orders. And so this request is in fact needed. These additional funds are needed to cover those additional costs.
So the 75,000 is covering the 5 you've mentioned and the 2 you're anticipating?
No, the 75 is actually covering what we anticipate change order 6 and 7 to total. And that's the
just
second
those
floor,
2.
Yeah, second floor of PD and the council chambers finishes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And just so everyone's clear, the contingency in the project and that has allowed to cover the other change orders. So up to that point, we were within budget.
Right.
This has taken us over what was allocated or what was appropriated in the budget.
Okay, thank you. Any other council questions or public questions? Please go ahead, Director Smith.
54th Place Pocket Park. We anticipate a shortfall of $170,000. We will transfer $65,000 from ARPA Wi-Fi, and we will transfer $105,000 from building demolition and parking lot development as unrestricted funds. And we will backfill $105,000. The $65,000 transferring from ARPA Wi-Fi, we will not have to replace that because we actually came in with a lower cost than we initially thought. But we will have to backfill $105,000 and in the FY 2025 budget.
Any council questions? Councilmember Lingua, your mic is still live.
Well, now recently live. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Could we please get so everyone is understanding what the term denotes? could you please define the term you're using, backfill?
Well, basically, we're gonna move the money, but we'll have to replace it to continue that project, so.
And your anticipated way of replacing it is?
To use the funds that we have available in the FY 2024 budget to complete the project and then replace those funds with the 2025 budget so that we could continue the work in this and complete the work in FY 2024.
Okay, so I guess my question is, how do you see yourselves replacing that money in the 2025 budget?
I think I have a slide for that one too, but.
Okay, I will wait to see that slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no additional questions, feel free to go ahead whenever you wish, Director Smith.
Pedestrian walkway at Queensbury, we're anticipating a shortfall of $75,000. We'll transfer that $75,000 from ARPA Wi-Fi. Once again, we anticipated the cost for Wi-Fi would be higher, and it's coming lower, so we will not have to backfill any funds here.
Staff, I just have a quick question. This is the walkway that will be segregated from Public Works vehicles and activities. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, just wanted to, a lot of different walkways and so on. Just wanted to make sure I understood the project. So thank you.
That's correct. Thanks.
And Mr. Mayor, can I ask Director Lewis to explain in more detail what the $75,000 will actually accomplish in the current year? Is that all right, Mr. Mayor?
Please do. Please go ahead.
Director Lewis?
Actually, we think this amount will cover the engineering that's required on both for the sidewalk. It also anticipates the town taking the lead in designing and ultimately installing a permeable pavement across the open space adjacent to the school on the east side or adjacent to the playground on the east side. So essentially just engineering for both components of the project. The extended sidewalk along Queensbury and the permeable pavement through the open space.
Okay, thank you. Any council questions or public questions? Okay, let's keep moving.
And in this section, we'll talk about some of the proposed projects for FY 2025.
Director Smith?
Yes.
Are you going to circle back to the question the council member Lingua had about backfill and where that that money's coming from?
Yes.
Okay,
I think it's in the section 5.
Okay.
And this is new projects that we would like to do in FY 2025. So walk, bike, drive supported projects, DPW roof replacement and solar, public level 3 electric vehicle charging stations, Lafayette Avenue street lights and neighborhood safety cameras, storm inlet upgrades, Purple Line neighborhood revitalization, DPW vehicle replacement, and public safety vehicle replacements.
So if I can just comment on this slide. So this is kind of given the council just a broad brush of what it is that the staff team's currently working on to try to figure out how much money we have, how much money we're likely to get through grants and other opportunities. We're waiting to hear on highway user funds, things of that nature. But these are some broad categories that we're working under. And if the council has ideas for other projects that they would like us to put into the mix as we're trying to draft the budget, now would be a good time or sometime within the next week or two to understand if there's categories of things that we should be looking at that are not here.
Council? Councilmember Lingua, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In terms of what to be adding to this list, I mean, I think really with the number of projects we're seeing that are over and what we're borrowing from and then having to backfill into, I think it's a matter of really looking at the projects that you're proposing and deciding among those which ones do we want to move forward on and which ones we may have to consider deferring, or at least possibly not fully funding in the next fiscal year. That's my initial thought right now. That could change, but based on what I'm hearing so far, and like my colleague from the First Ward said, I'm not going to try and do math on the fly here. I think we have some numbers here that we need to look at.
Okay. Any additional council comment or public comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I want to ask one question here. Lafayette Avenue street lights and neighborhood safety camera system. Does that gonna apply at 54th Avenue? The safety camera system, because it's something that I lament on long time ago. I said we need a camera at 54th Avenue. And the street lights at Spring Lane at 54th Avenue. I lament on that too. I don't know why they are not mentioned in that one for now, because that corner is very dark. Yes, Mr. Town Manager, can you tell me something about that?
Mr. Mayor.
Please go ahead.
So we need to add the Spring Lane to this list. In terms of the neighborhood safety cameras, Director Lewis, how many cameras do we have on 54th?
We have one at the intersection of 54th and Riverdale Road and one planned for the Kennedy Street, Paper Street at 54th.
Okay. So that would be 2 on 54th once we get that other one in.
And of course, we'll have security cameras in the 54th Place tot lot or Pocket Park and tot lot.
If I can recall it, he said Kennedy Street. Kennedy Street is off Kenwalt Avenue. That doesn't go with 54th Avenue and Spring Lane. Then which camera do you have between 54th Avenue and Riverdale Road? Where do you install that camera? By the church?
It's across the street from the church on the south side of Riverdale Road at 54th.
And there's also a camera.
I never experienced that camera there because I've been there more than nearly 10 years around that area. I never experienced that camera over there. All the buildings over there, they have no camera. They break in our cars and everything. No way to trail the perpetrators, the criminals, because there is no camera. You see? So that's why I'm talking about this. And that Spring Lane, 54th Avenue, that corner is very dark. We need the lights over there.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Town Manager.
So I stand corrected that there is a camera at the corner of Riverdale Road and 54th. The police chief just reminded me there's also a camera at 54th and Jefferson that the town installed. So there are 2 cameras, and we are putting in a third on Kennedy Street, the paper street of Kennedy, council member, I think it's an area commonly referred to as the cut, where folks walk through the grassy area there. The town has a right of way there, and there's a camera slated to go there, and there's a camera slated to go on the tot lot at 54th Place. So once those are installed, we will have 4 cameras in and around that area. We also have a grant program to assist the multifamily properties and commercial properties should they seek to put in cameras.
Mr. Town Manager, when was the camera at 54th and Riverdale Road installed?
That I would say within the last several months. Director Lewis, do you recall when that was complete?
It's certainly within the last 6 months.
So, Councilmember Kellon, the reason you haven't experienced it is that it's only been there for 6 months, over 10 years. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, that is a junction. They put the camera in the junction. What I'm trying to say, this building area where we park our cars, the people are going there, break our windows, vandalize our cars. There is no camera. Even the police, when the police come, they have no access to the criminals. This is what I'm saying. Why should you put a camera in a street corner and Jefferson over there in the corner there? Like it left the building areas where people are coming to commit an offense.
Councilmember Kellon, Councilmember Kellon, at the intersection we are discussing, then someone was shot and their body was pushed. At the intersection we were discussing at Riverdale Road and 54th, within the last 2 years, someone was shot and pushed out of the door of their car. And that's the sort of crime that we are trying to catch with these cameras.
Okay. What about we the residents now when they break in our cars? When the police come, the police have no access to the criminals. So how do you see that?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Town Manager.
I would ask that perhaps on a future work session, we can have the chief talk about how the police department works collaboratively with various property owners that have camera systems. I believe there are some privately owned cameras that we have access to, but I'm unprepared to speak on those tonight, but perhaps we can have the chief come in and share some information with the council.
Okay, and I think it'd be interesting to know, what fraction of commercial buildings have these cameras and how we access them. So that would be it. That's an interesting topic. And Councilmember Kellon, we can of course research exactly how much it would cost to put cameras at every single apartment building in town and propose that as part of the budget and see where it goes.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll be happy to get these cameras. And don't forget that street, Spring Lane, 54th Avenue is very dark. There is a old lady there complaining all the time. You know the lady, Mr. Mayor, you know the lady in that corner.
I know
Yeah.
the woman you're speaking of. She's been a longtime resident of town, and
Yeah.
I speak to her fairly often. So yes, I know her well.
Every 2 weeks or 1 week, I will visit her. She's always complaining about these dark areas.
And staff has said that they're going to add that to this list and determine the cost, and it will go into the budget discussions. Okay.
I'll be happy if they do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Smith, you've been very patient. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a location like on the website or something? Do we have a public listing of where these cameras are, the neighborhood safety cameras are located?
Mr. Town Manager?
We currently do not, but that's something that we certainly can add. Sure.
Yeah, sure. My initial question that I had written down here was if council and the mayor could get that list, but I do think it would be in the public interest for it to be available publicly. And if there's any council action that's required for that, which I'm assuming not, but if so, happy to work with the council and staff on that. So yeah, just interested to see the actual rundown. I know that like they are in the council materials we've all received as we voted on them and whatnot, but just a central location for the council and for residents to be able to find them, I think would be in the public interest. The neighborhood safety cameras, have we caught any alleged criminals based on use of those cameras? And I know that's not what we're here to talk about necessarily, so if that's a answer over email question, I'm happy to take that later as well.
I think I can give a brief answer and then ask the chief to weigh in. I will say this. I think deterrence is a hard thing to measure, and the number of crimes that don't happen. In a recent conversation I had with the chief, he was sharing with me that it's not lost on him that the 7-Eleven on Kenilworth has their own camera, has a big blue light on top of it, and we have access to viewing their camera. And knock wood, they haven't experienced any significant robberies there, but the 7-Eleven over on Baltimore has, and there's no cameras outdoors there. So anecdotally, I think that the presence of cameras act as a deterrent. In terms of solving crimes or assisting with that, Chief, can you speak to that?
Yes, John, thank you. I couldn't have said it better. We have had a couple of incidents caught on the camera, and we have captured some vehicle and license plates that were used in investigations, specifically a robbery of a taxi cab driver at 5309 Riverdale Road, which assisted us. The vehicle wasn't owned by the suspect, but it helped us track him down.
And Chief, was that the taxi robbery where they were hitting throughout the area?
Correct. That suspect was responsible for 6 robberies of Latino taxi cab drivers.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Lasician. And am I addressing you as acting chief, Turner? Is that where we are today?
That works for me.
All right. I was going to say deputy chief, but I didn't want to give you an acting demotion there. So thank you for that response. Yeah, I have some thoughts on that, but not that are relevant to the agenda item here. I was just interested to hear that the reason we have these cameras was to try to catch people committing these sort of crimes, and if we're actually meeting that purpose. And then just lastly, I want to thank the staff for including the level 3 charters that I know I had raised the issue of on here. I'm going to say a little bit more about that during the Ward 1 report, but I just wanted to make sure it went noticed that the responsiveness on staff and including that as a potential project. So thank you for that.
Councilmember Inyang, go ahead.
Yep, thank you. Just real quick, the Purple Line neighborhood revitalization. I know that includes everything. Does it include lighting? And then 2, I know there was talk about sort of temporary lighting in that corner. I can get the street name exactly in that. Do we know if that's already been done or priced into this larger effort?
I will defer to Director Lewis on any temporary lighting. In terms of this list, this is what staff's working with. Things are not refined or defined necessarily. We're making projections, and as Director Smith's going to cover here in a few minutes, he's using the term backfill. We're going to have to come up with money to keep existing projects moving forward. So it's going to really depend on sources and uses. We're seeking grants currently for the solar on the DPW roof. We're seeking grants for a number of these. We're looking for grants for the electric vehicle charging stations. So a lot's going to depend on identifying sources and plugging them into these types of uses. So I can't give you a definitive answer tonight. That's the short answer.
And if I may, on sort of temporary lights, probably our best opportunity for that is to work with Pepco to add lights to existing utility poles in that neighborhood. We've not inventoried the poles and their locations to know where we might take advantage of such an opportunity. I'm not sure we can add it to the work program before the end of this fiscal year, and this is why it's proposed for FY25.
Okay, because I know when we first talked about it, I guess there was like a standing Pepco meeting or so around the 54th and Quesada neighborhood. I just looked it up. So that Pepco poll, I'm assuming, is the long-term option, is what you're suggesting, or is that a short-term option?
It could be a short-term option. It could be a more immediate option to the town installing its own pedestrian-style lighting.
Okay. Okay. I think
Our most recent example is the lighting Pepco added to their poles along the trolley trail.
Got it. No, I understand. I understand that. Thank you.
Any additional council or public questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Town Manager, go ahead.
Councilmember Yin-Yang, we will get with Pepco and advise the council on when we can see some temporary lighting and what type of option that is, or the short-term lighting to use Director Lewis's words.
Thank you.
Okay. Director Smith, please feel free to go ahead.
Next slide, please. So we're going to talk briefly on fund requests for subsequent phases. These are projects that we've, some of that already been completed, and we would like to fund additional, like welcome signage. And so we're looking to fund additional welcome signage, new e-message boards, bus shelters, streets and sidewalks, flood mitigation, rain gardens, street furniture and waste receptacles, and traffic sign projects.
So, Director Smith, just so everyone's clear, so these are projects that are approved in the current budget being completed, but we're going to be asking for this to expand these in a new phase. So like Director Shelton has, I think, 3 welcome signs, the monument signs that are going in, but we're going to come back and recommend additional locations, things of that nature. Same with the bus shelters and that. Okay.
That's correct.
Any council questions or comments? Okay, let's go on.
Next steps and feedback. What we and you can go to the funding source for CIP. I think Ryan, you can. I think whoever's go to the next slide. The next slide.
Mr. Smith, the last one was the one that talked about welcome signage, and this one begins with streetlight pole acquisitions and engineering services. Did you want to skip this slide?
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Did we cover that one?
I don't believe so.
Okay, that's my fault. I'm sorry about that. Fund requests for subsequent phases. We, in addition, continuation is streetlight pole acquisition, engineering services, building weatherization stabilization, neighborhood safety camera, street light pole acquisition, and curb ramp improvement. Those are all things we would like to continue into FY25 budget. And then finally, next steps, feedback and input. So when we talked about how we were going to fund that those projects that we're backfilling in FY 2025, part of it is part of it will be the allocation of general fund revenue in excess of expenditures. Also to pursue grants, and we also talked about for FY 25 possibly a potential increase in property tax rates. And you might want to go back to that one for 1 second, Ryan, if anyone have any questions.
So, Mr. Smith, if you can clarify,
Mhm.
the backfill amount is how much?
Let me just go back for 1 second. $75 and 105. It's 180.
So we would have to allocate in order to keep the other projects moving. Or as Councilmember Lingua mentioned, looking at those other projects and determining what may be deferred. But those projects would require additional $180,000 in the next year that they otherwise would not require. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that's your current estimate right now, 180,000.
That's correct.
Okay. And well, reticent to try and get ahead on things, mainly because we're just over the halfway point through this year, so we really have no firm idea what, I mean, granted, as I've said over the years, in terms of your projections and your estimates usually come, what are actuals and what you saw in terms of expenditures and revenues usually come within 5%, which I have commended and pointed out and commended over the years. I want to be making assumptions on past performances at this point, being that we're just at the halfway point of this year. So I think really it's going to be a matter of looking more likely at the start of fourth quarter or at some point in terms of what we're looking at in terms of A, those estimates are still at 180, and B, looking at estimates at that point in terms of what our net revenue over expenditures are. And how that's going to affect this backfill and other funding for other projects, as well as the general budget. So I think this is a conversation to be had in the future at that point.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Town Manager, go ahead.
Councilmember Lingua, I full-heartedly agree. While we've done a decent job on projections in the past, we've taken on much larger projects and more complicated projects, and we're doing that in the midst of still reacting to price of goods and services, and on these couple projects out of the list, we're hitting a barrier and identifying a gap when we're deep into the project. So I agree with you. I think this year's budget, especially on the CIP, is going to require a lot of scrubbing and a lot of scheduling, and a lot of projections. I think that being nimble and fluid is the way we're going to have to be in order to see larger and more complicated projects through to fruition.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Next slide. And final next steps would be, we're gonna continue to monitor and update the FY 2024 projections. We will determine FY 2025 funding levels, and we will assure that our projections and the work that we want to do align with the town's vision and commitment statements. And we will formulate a draft CIP budget for FY 2025 and have it ready for the budget hearings.
Okay, council members, members of the public, any overarching questions? Any questions you didn't feel you got answered sufficiently during the presentation? Okay, thank you, Director Smith. I appreciate seeing presentations like this, knowing what's facing us in the budget season ahead, and it's you know, there are going to be some hard choices here of either finding additional funding or delaying things, or perhaps even canceling some projects or drawing back on some. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have lost my agenda. Give me a second. There we are. Oh, next item on the agenda is me, Mayor's report. So please give me a second to find my notes. I'm going to try to go through quickly since it's 8:45. I'll just remark that today is only 11 weeks since the tragedy of November 20th. I know that I have been still thinking about it on a daily basis, multiple times per day thinking about it. And I trust that in spite of the information we just received about our capital budgets, that we will move forward aggressively to improve pedestrian safety aggressively and as quickly as at all possible. On that same topic, I attended an event this morning where organized by Councilman Ivey's office, and he presented a symbolic check to all of the municipalities that have received Safe Streets and Roads funding for all. And interesting little stat is that the municipalities that were present there, which are Prince George's County and his district, received a total of 10.8 million, and statewide it was just over 27 million, if I remember the number correctly. So a lot of money came into this area to improve safety. COVID numbers are down, except DC is seeing an increase in hospitalizations. When I mean down everywhere else, then Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland is down, Virginia is down, all of our surrounding down except for DC. And unfortunately, we share an economy with most of DC. So we still aren't out of the woods, but things are getting better, and that's good news. But please, I'll just ask that if you are feeling sick, that you please try to avoid vulnerable people. So older people, people who you know have chronic conditions, please try to do that. 2 nights from now, on Wednesday night, the Legacy Mixed Use Town Center Local Design Review Committee will meet at 7:30, and we'll discuss, among other things, the lofts building on the east, and will be an approval request for that, and the building on the west, the larger building, there will be a presentation from the developer on that. So hope to see you Wednesday evening. The state legislative session is underway. There are 4 bills that I've been hearing a lot of chatter about. Excuse me. One of them is a bill to override local land use decisions, local zoning regulations, to allow higher density development of multifamily houses. And we are analyzing that and trying to figure out what impact it might have on the town. It's a pretty complicated bill, and it's we're working on that. One that fortunately doesn't involve us, but a lot of our neighboring municipalities are worried about this, is municipalities that have not turned in an audit recently are going to be have their funding cut if this bill passes, state funding for police in particular. And so there's a lot of concern about that, attempts to change it. As I said, we are up to date on our audits, so we're in good shape there. One that just came to my attention, I knew it was floating around out there, if you'll pardon the double meaning of that, is additional money for stormwater funding and stormwater mitigation, and that's sponsored by our own Senator Alonzo Washington. And so hope to keep following that, and we will support it, of course. And one that I just heard about just before the meeting, shortly before the meeting, is a bill that would allow cannabis sales in any location where liquor sales are allowed. And as I said, I just heard about it. I haven't a chance to read the bill yet, but that's apparently floating around out there also. So we'll have to see whether the council has an opinion about that and how we want to move forward. And the last thing, I'll close out my report with a reminder to all members of the council, except for Councilmember Callan, that I need your reviews of the town manager, performance review paperwork for the town manager. I've arranged to pick up Councilmember Mejia's later this week from her. So I know that is out there, but other members of the council, please get me that information as quickly as you can. It's really important. And with that, I'll close my report and move on to the town manager's report. Mr. Town Manager.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council again. It was a good event today that the mayor mentioned with Congressman Ivey's office. Mr. Mayor, I have yet to forward the photographs to Director Barnes. That's why they're not on our platforms yet. So we will get to that late tonight or tomorrow. A few items to note. So the Town Seal Design Committee meets tomorrow night, and that's a virtual meeting at 7 p.m. They're reviewing results of a community survey, and they, as I understand it, they have a number of important decisions to make, and so I think they're making good progress there. The mayor mentioned the MUTC meeting. And then good to note that Town Hall and DPW operations will be closed on February 19th in recognition of President's Day. The town's Board of Elections will meet on February 21st. That's at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. That's a virtual meeting as well. And the Board of Election plans to attend the November 26th work session. I guess, Mr. Mayor, that'll be on a draft agenda for your review to discuss recommended changes to the town election procedures. We have a community conversation scheduled for February 24th. It's Saturday at 9:30 in the morning. That's a virtual meeting, and we need a topic. So if the mayor or council have recommendations on what we should use this opportunity to engage the community about, please let us know your thoughts, so we can have a good engaged conversation with the community. The financial disclosure statements, the annual statements, have been distributed. and they were sent out on the 1st, and they are due back to the Ethics Commission by April 30th. And then lastly, just a report to the council, we've had 14 expressions of interest in the Walk Bike Drive Advisory Committee. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Council members, any questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Councilman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. On that last note, what is envisioned steps going forward for the formation of the committee?
Is that a question for me or for the town manager?
It'd be for the town manager, sir.
My first thought is I'm going to defer to the council. The way that we would see it happening is if the council desired to have a committee, then we would draft a resolution to create the committee. We can present that to the council at the next work session. And then the council would adopt a resolution creating the committee. Then once created, there can be an official call for folks to step forward. And then the mayor would make appointments with the consent of the council, is how staff would foresee it. Mr. Mayor, is that a decent summary?
Sounds reasonable to me. So we can bring it up under new business, but I think that probably just asking town staff to develop a draft for the work session, if at all possible, then that would be good. I suspect that will be challenging. Okay, any additional questions for the town manager? Councilmember Lingua, if you could remember to bring that up under new business, I'll try to add it to my agenda, but I can't promise that. I'm dealing with a lot of things right now on my.
Happy to do so, sir.
Fantastic. Okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, unless there are any public questions from the public for the town manager, monthly finance report.
Director Smith?
Sure. Good evening again, Mayor and Council and residents of the town of Riverdale Park. We want to cover the November, December, and January. For FY 2024, we have $964,803 in revenue and $853,410 in expenses, for a net of $111,393. For FY 24 December, we have $516,574 and $665,674 in expenses, for a net of a negative $149,100. And in January of 24, we had $1,300,165, and we had $345 in expenditures, for a net of $599,820. I think next slide, please, or next page.
Can I ask that it be shrunk a little bit? I can't see the whole slide. Thank you.
All right, on this one, we covered January and the year-to-date. So I'm just going to cover the year-to-date totals on this one. The year-to-date totals for FY 2024 is $7,555,878. And expenses $4,839,000. $4,839,418. For a total of net effect of $2,716,460. In FY 2023, we had $7,276,333. And in the expenses, we had $4,760,684 for net effect of $2,515,649 as a net. And in FY 2022, we had $7,438,532. And for expenses, we had $4,644,161. And for a net effect of $2,794 and $2,794 and $2,794,371. And that's it.
Thank you, Director Smith. Any questions on the monthly finance report? Awfully quiet. If there are no questions, are there any public comments or questions? If not, may I have a motion to adopt the monthly finance report subject to audit?
Motion to adopt the monthly finance report subject to audit.
I second the motion.
Motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Kellon to adopt the finance report subject to audit. Is there any council discussion of this motion? Are there any public comments? I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
Councilmember Kellon,
Aye.
and I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is correspondence summary. No items in the correspondence summary, so there's not much to discuss there. Okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, Fire Department report. We received this earlier today. Chief Lamphere Mr. Lamphere was unable to attend. He had intended to be here. There are some surprising issues that are raised in here, and perhaps to many of you, I think we should perhaps wait until Mr. Lamphere comes back in order to get some answers on those. Mr. Town Manager, I know that you have been speaking to both the volunteers and the county fire departments. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So just a little background for the council, and I'll be forwarding a PowerPoint presentation that the county had sent over to me a week or so ago. The staff have been asking some questions about operations of the fire department, the condition of our building, things of that nature. We were told that it was difficult to get information from the county, so I made an inquiry of the county to get information. The county responded a few days after my inquiry and produced this PowerPoint presentation. And so I can forward that out to the council. It reports on the county stats on the utilization in terms of response from the volunteer fire company. And I think that would help the mayor and council have a more complete picture upon reading the report that was submitted tonight. So I will continue to meet with Mr. Lampier, along with Mr. Smith and Director Barnes. That's kind of our team. And we'll keep the council updated on things that we learn. I have been asked whether the town can assist in financing a new ambulance. I've made no promises. As you know, I don't have authority to do such a thing. But I said that's something that would be a part of a larger discussion and a discussion with the council. I think that may be coming as well, but it's going to be real important, I think, for everyone to have a good understanding of the utilization of the volunteer fire department for emergency response.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Any additional discussion of the fire department report? Any public comments? Okay, let's move on to council committee and ward reports. Council member Smith, Ward 1.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to be here. Sorry I missed the work session, but I'm glad to be with everybody here tonight. First, I want to say for folks who haven't picked up on it in my time on the council, I am like a super awkward person. So I just want to thank Chief Turner. I was trying to ensure to correct your or be accurate in your level of responsibility, and I should have just dropped the chief between haggling over active or deputy or whatever. Maybe you didn't think anything of it, and I'm making it more awkward now by saying anything. But that's what I've been thinking about for the last 5 minutes. So sorry for being weirdo. Thank you, Chief Turner, for your service to the town and everything you do. All that said, I want to congratulate the Riverdale Park football team. They have stopped impacting our town unemployment rate after hiring Dan Quinn as the head football coach. So congratulations to the Riverdale Park football team for that. And just generally, I'm amazed the more I'm out and about as the weather gets a little bit warmer before it gets probably a little bit colder and then warmer again. Just how much more recognizable and our town has gotten throughout the region in my short time as part of this body and slightly longer in the community. I know when we first moved here around 10 years ago or so, it was we moved to Riverdale Park. Oh, it's the little town near Hyattsville. And now like it's you live in Riverdale Park. That's so cool. You know, if I'm somewhere else in the DMV area, as I was last week, and the barbecue that they're having for lunch smells really good, and I say, where's that from? And it turns out it's from my ward. Or my friend who lives in Brooklyn on the DC side, who told me that they've been coming to this great bakery to get baguettes. Shout out to the folks at Manifest Bread, by the way, who are taking a well-deserved first vacation after a little bit more than a year being open here in the town. Staff's holding the fort down, so thanks to Rick and Ty for everything they do, and congrats on their vacation. You know, or it's one of my friends who is not first generation, he is an immigrant, his kids are first generation from Mexico, and likes to tell me that the best Mexican food in all of the DMV is in Riverdale Park east of the river. So I know that doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's grown the ability for us to be recognized that way since I've been on the council, which is not speaking to my work at all, because I know that it doesn't happen in that short a period of time that folks, many of you on this meeting and others who aren't here tonight, have been working on that, continue to work on that, will continue to work on that, and making us a real destination for the DMV area and beyond. So kudos to everyone on that. As always, glad to be a part of the community here. Which sort of dovetails with my comment earlier about the level 3 charging stations. As I've mentioned before, I recently got a EV, and I know some of the other folks on the council have them as well. But one of the things that's I've found really interesting is one, we in our town have fantastic charging infrastructure. And it makes it effortless essentially to own an EV other than writing the check to the bank every month for the payment. But you know, I on the EV internet boards and stuff, you hear from people living in, you know, random middle of nowhere place in Montana about their charging woes, and that's never a problem for us. We have in our area the level 2 chargers. For those who don't know, those are the ones you can, you know, basically do a pretty lengthy commute during the day, plug in overnight, and it's charged the next morning for fully for whatever you need it for. Those are great. They're great for our community living here. But what I've found is that what makes me stop in a community that I wouldn't otherwise stop in is the level 3 chargers. These are the ones that usually cost more money for the user. And they can charge your full vehicle, and, you know, depending on the output level, 30 to, you know, 60, 70 minutes fully. And when I'm driving somewhere longer distance, that makes me stop in a town or a community or a neighborhood that I might not have otherwise stopped in, and plug in for a while and walk around and check out the local businesses, eat at the local restaurants, that sort of thing. So I think that would be a fantastic investment for bringing even more people, bringing more awareness about our community to the DMV area. And another reason for folks to stop in, be it to get their 250 barbecue or manifest bread, or even, you know, places that in our community that have not received historically the same infrastructure investments that I know we're all focused on now, to make those also similarly destinations for the DMV area and beyond. So I'm really proud to live in a community that has, you know, values to the extent that they're, you know, included in our commitment statements in terms of sustainability and whatnot, and excited for what we can do in the future to do even more of that. And then lastly, if I could venture over to some neighboring wards, I did, for those who are curious, take a look at the conditions over at Gosling Pond over the weekend. Folks will be happy to learn if they are anything like me, which most people aren't. But there is a healthy and thriving minnow population that will hopefully be growing into bigger and bigger fish sooner rather than later. So excited for that after a couple years of maintenance being done on the pond that has greatly impacted my mental health. Hopefully we'll be able to get those wetline therapy sessions again going here pretty soon as we look towards the spawn. So that is what I have for tonight. Thanks everybody. Good to see everybody again.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Foe, Ward 2.
Well, you heard it there first from Councilmember 1. If you're looking for abundant fishing opportunities, come over to Ward 2. Good evening, everybody. Not a very long presentation for me tonight. First and foremost, I want to say happy Black History Month. As a history teacher, this is a special time for me to be able to convey to my students the importance of African American history to American history. It is an incredibly unique dialogue that we're having across this country right now pertaining to Black history as it is a part of our country's history. I think it was only a year ago this month that we decided to rename a park space after Adam Francis Plummer and his wife, Adam Francis Plummer, who was enslaved in our community. We have a remarkable story to be told, and I think it's incumbent upon us as community leaders to get our history right. It's truly significant what underrepresentation has done to this country, and to be able to be part of a movement to maybe shine a little light on those unnamed enslaved in our community. I think we have an opportunity to do something remarkably important. It is in that vein that I'll be attending the 1856 Project's first annual presentation on its findings on Wednesday at the University of Maryland. It's incredible, this space, the community we share, the types of thought that's going on. I'm excited to learn about how slavery, learn more about how slavery impacted this area and the University of Maryland. That is from 3 to 5. The last thing that I read was on Instagram that said that they only had 5 seats available. But I know that you could sign up to attend via Zoom if anybody is so interested in doing that. I don't expect any response from town staff or our police department. I know this is probably not even an issue that they would be enforcing, but for the last 3 to 4 years on East West Highway, we have been dealing with motorcycles, motorbikes, dirt bikes, quad runners, not even street legal vehicles, going up and down the hill outside of our town center, just driving unsafely in loud vehicles and performing stunts and videotaping it. And I'm just intrigued by enforcement, because it doesn't appear to be. I know this is state highway territory. I know that we are a limited police department. I do not want this to come across as a criticism of our police department. I recognize that we are too small a staff to deal with the problems brought to us by Baltimore Avenue, Kenilworth Avenue, and East West Highway. I just would love to hear at some point, is there anything being done from the State Highway Administration to try and prevent these kind of unsafe and annoying activities that are going on in our highways? I can only guess that it's incredibly difficult and unsafe to enforce and chase in those situations. I know how redundant the noise pollution and the danger that is just exhibited on our streets so openly is just, it has a weight on our community. And I would just love to have any dialogues with anybody in charge of what, if anything, can be done to do that. And last but not least, we're talking about electric vehicles. In the position that I am in, I'm lucky. I get to text ideas to town staff and the mayor. I was watching Daniel Tiger with my son the other day, and he's just absolutely obsessed with the trolley. And it is in that vein, I texted to the mayor, we should have an electric trolley that runs through our town, stops at our schools, town center, Riverdale Park Station. We're going to have multiple transportation, multiple Purple Line stations. We have College Park Metro that connects to Mark and can get to New Carlton on trains throughout rapid transit on the East Coast. I know this is just a dream, but I want us all to dream. And we talk about the impact of poverty on our community. If we could offer assistance in transport to our amenities, public transportation, just to be able to get parents to schools, holy heck. That is a pipe dream. I don't intend for any fiscal discussions to occur on this in 2025, but I just want us to think big and to continue to dialogue that way. I hope everybody is doing awesome. It's good to see you all. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I yield my time.
Thank you, Councilmember Foe. Would you like the police to respond to your question about the noise on East West Highway? Or
I didn't infer, that's what I didn't want to come across as being negative. I don't think we have the manpower to stop the problem because it occurred.
Sure, but there you had several
no,
questions.
absolutely.
Why don't given the hour, why don't we put that off for a future meeting? But I think it's
no, I absolutely, and that's, I think, just for future dialogues, just to hear what goes into that, what are the struggles in doing that, because I recognize it is not an easy task.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lingua, Ward 3.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. On that last note from a colleague from the 2nd Ward, the past couple of years, Jeffrey York, who's a member of the Riverdale Park Business Association, has been pitching an idea by a company called Circuit One which has a electric cart system. Right now it's something that's they have an operation in Florida, but they also have an operation down at the wharf. And he has been pressing myself as well as others to see if some way this could be brought to Riverdale Park. So if you would like to chat more with Mr. York, I'd be happy to get his contact information to you. On Ward 3 note, the thing I just wanted to bring up tonight is, I've been on emails with residents to town staff on various things, primarily dealing with the company down at the intersection 47th, Lafayette, Nicholson, SGS, and their conduct of their business operations within that neighborhood, being that they're bordering right on a number of single-family homes there. And I just wanted to express my appreciation staff for responding and working to address those issues. What I would appreciate from staff as well is any updates and follow-ups on any actions taken. And some general CCAR CDC news. The Sarvis Cafe is working on winter hours. They are Monday through Friday now, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Again, remember, Sarvis Cafe is a working, teaching, I guess the term is work empowerment operation that is working with students through Prince George's Community College, so that they're able to get training on restaurant operations, both sides of the house, so that they then have greater opportunities to find employment elsewhere, be that in this area or outside of this area. I would encourage folks, if you have the opportunity to grab breakfast or lunch over there Monday through Friday during those hours, please do. It's going to a very good cause. And with that, I will conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Town Manager Listician, you wanted to respond to the questions?
Just one. Councilmember Lingua, just as a FYI, Director Barnes is compiling a response for all the various issues that have been raised by the resident, and a comprehensive communication will go out to that person. Ms. Barnes, is that within the next week? You think we'll have that out?
Yeah, so the end of this week or beginning of next, I believe, certainly.
And we will certainly include you as being copied on that, sir.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Smith, your hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Lingua, I just wanted to see if you and we can follow up offline too if necessary, have any insight into the winter hours at Sarvis Cafe and when they would become spring hours. I was really excited to try to go get my morning coffee there this morning, and apparently they close or open an hour later than normal during the winter.
Winter hours right now are that they have posted is 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So yeah, 9 a.m. for coffee. Folks usually like to get a little earlier, but that's where they're operating right now.
No, outstanding. I just wanted to make sure I'm going back when I could try some of the coffee. I'd been looking forward to getting over there. Yeah, it's quite the operation they got going over there. Long time in the planning and coming to, and they're really running
running a solid operation over there. So
Yeah,
thank you.
as somebody who wishes most days that I had chosen a career in the culinary arts, it's fantastic. I'm glad we have that in our community. So thank you, Councilmember.
You're quite welcome.
Okay, Councilmember Inyang, your report, Ward 4.
Yes, thank you. I'll keep it short for today. One wanted to thank town staff for the presentation earlier today. I think as we look towards FY25 budgeting, it's super important that we have these conversations and start preparing ourselves for some of the tough choices that we'll have to make. One thing that was not in there, because it's probably not capital improvement, but it was just around sort of tree maintenance, right? Last meeting, a resident came in, sort of talked about like a tree on that had been sort of like caused damage in the community. I stopped by and saw the tree, and it was obviously like a super, super, super old, big, enormous tree. And I know the town manager and the mayor have spoken to her as well, and I appreciate the the notes around that. And so really thinking about I know we've talked about the maintenance of trees because around sort of the Riverdale Park Station, as we were adding all these new trees onto the into the maintenance lineup. Just thinking about how do we, if that's something that we need to be thinking proactively about in the next, 1 to 2 years, I think it'd be good to sort of, think about that. And then in Riverdale Park Station in particular, I know one of the things that, there were, Director Ivy, Director Lewis, I appreciate you sending the update today in terms of some of the outstanding things on the punch list. Definitely keep us posted in terms of like what that looks like, and if there's a time horizon, or if there's going to be some type of evaluation of sort of how are things working now before new things are installed. Just that level of communication would be helpful. I think everything on the list makes sense. I think the double yellow line, I think, may not make sense. I think the single one I think has sort of been doing its job of like slowing down traffic. And so I think originally was a double yellow line, but I think the one is actually made an improvement. And then, just lastly, meeting with the the folks in the Discovery District. Again, trying to find a way to like activate that part of my ward. It's some of the most expansive, and the Shed is one of the sort of the all things music storage, music studios. Meeting with them tomorrow. They're very much interested in spring planning. So I don't know if there is, I'll check the website to see if there's sort of existing like spring events that might make sense for them to come in and partner. And if not, we'll try to think creatively with the town staff to think about what are some unique things. I already have the one that I really want to do, like a drum petting zoo where kids and everyone can sort of come out and bang around drums and sort of, I think it'd be a good community event. But again, it's always when do we do it? Where do we do it? I think this is an opportunity to think creatively about locations that we can sort of do these type of things and sort of when. But super excited about that, and we'll share more, and I know more tomorrow morning. And then lastly, I met with the folks from the MORE, which it's an acronym, but essentially it's like a bike, mountain bike advocacy, trail maintenance, fundraising element. They actually are looking for facilities around bike lanes in town that they can sort of create these kind of pop-up bike parks and pump stations. One of their first suggestions was actually the Adam and Emily Palmer Park. They were like, I don't see anything with it, and so was happy to inform them that like help is on the way there. But that's just another reminder for me that we should start thinking about, as we sit in Black History Month, are there opportunities for us to start laying the groundwork on things, whether it's a sign, whether it's something, whether it's programming at the space, even if it's in its current state, as we think about just keeping that battle rhythm going, the drum beat. as it moves towards its final state. But there were a couple other locations, obviously, that they're thinking about. The two Riverdale neighborhood parks, the one that's on the trolley trail and the one that's near the Anacostia Trail. I think, I know it's obviously a larger conversation, but it did get me thinking of two things. One was just the opportunity, I think, for naming our parks. And I think that'd be like an interesting exercise to think about, are there people that we can commemorate or honor to bring a more character to some of our parks? And then two, are there opportunities to bring foot traffic and rethink some of our park spaces? I know we've got a lot of baseball diamonds that are not all used. And I know we've got a lot of like open field space that aren't actually anything. They're just sort of completely open space. We've talked about that in the tree report of just ideally those are trees, but they're not. They're kind of open spaces. And so, I know that's a long process, but I'm looking forward to the conversation about working with Parks and Planning and MMPPC of just, what are our spaces and what does it look like? What's the future that hold? And, the good thing about Moore is they're very much like, we will raise our funds for it, and they try to be as most self-sustaining as possible. But I think it's a bigger conversation of just, every ward doesn't have park space, but the idea that we can try to find opportunities for the community to take advantage of these resources in ways that fit the time and the people who are living there, I think is really important. And so I know these decisions that we make now in terms of infrastructure have to last for a decade plus, but I wonder the last time we sort of thought through of like how are our public facilities serving the people in the way that they need. And so I think that's a conversation that'd be worth exploring over the next coming months or so. And with that, I will I'll see my time.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Mejia texted me a few minutes ago and had to leave early, so she will not be presenting her report. Councilmember Kellon, do you have a report?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have some report and some recommendations. Yeah. First and foremost, I will tell the police officers, our officers, thanks for making our area quiet. We are not getting any incident for this time. The police are doing their job. And moreover, I would like them to continue to do that, to visit some places in the night. So apartment complex, even they are there like 5 minutes, you move, go to the other 5 minutes. The people will know that the police they are still on their leg. So I commend them for that. Ward 6 for now is calm. Then I'm getting some complaint from the liquor stores, gas stations, 7-Elevens. People are disturbing them. When they go there, some will go the drunken one, making noise, don't take order. They are reporting it to me. So I will pass that to the mayor and the town manager and the police officers to help us to calm these people. And moreover, I'm happy most of the purple line where they do these diggings, they have tarred a lot of places. Vehicles are getting better now. We don't have much pothole again. Then, last but not the least, this school bus stop. I'm still on my leg. All the area where these buses are going to stop, let them have a stop sign there. The time is located on the bus stop panel. Then these students, they will know this time I'm supposed to be there. If I late, the bus is going to leave me. So do, Mr. Mayor and the town manager, I will like us to take this project very seriously. When we start, the others will follow. We're going to have the credit for that. Yes. If we start here, for all the school bus, they have their stop signs. Where they're going to stop for the student to embark on it. We will have the credit for that. And other council, other states, they will follow. And other counties will follow our footstep. Then we will have credit for that. It's going to be in the history of town of Riverdale Park and Maryland for that matter. So I'm emphasizing for this school bus stop, they have to have their signboard wherever this bus is stopping. This area is for this school, high school, and this other elementary school, middle school. Time is stated on the plat so that the student, they will know this time. If I'm not there, the bus is going to leave me. So I think I yield my time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Callan. Town manager and I discussed the school bus, your school bus request last Tuesday after the work session, and we'll continue that discussion. So thank you for that reminder. Moving along on the agenda, next item on the agenda are public comments on non-agenda items and consent agenda items. Are there any public comments? Not seeing any hands raised or microphones unmuted, so I'm going to assume that that means no. And that will bring us to the consent agenda. We have a two sets of minutes, January 8th, 2024 and December 4th, 2023. May I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Inyang, seconded by Councilmember Foe. There's neither discussion nor debate of this item. Do a roll call vote immediately. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia is absent. Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-OR-01 regarding the Comcast cable franchise agreement. May I please have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe to adopt ordinance 2024-OR-01, seconded by Councilmember Lingua. Is there discussion of this ordinance? This motion to adopt.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilmember Smith.
First, I apologize if this was covered in the work session that I missed. But does this I'm assuming this is a franchise agreement that outlines sort of responsibilities for how Comcast would maintain their equipment that is in within the town, on the poles, hanging over our streets, that sort of thing.
That sort of thing, but also how revenues would be shared, and a wide variety of others. So remember, it's a 135-page agreement. It's been hashed out with the other municipalities and the county and Prince George's County. It's very similar to ordinance that was enacted by Montgomery County and the municipalities in Montgomery County. And so yeah, it's got a lot of meat in there.
Understood. I'm not sure if this is the correct vehicle to approach it, or if it's just a neighborly call to whoever we talk to in government relations at Comcast. But I just notice, have been noticing, but particularly this morning, it was standing out to me how much what I believe is Comcast equipment. It's definitely telecom equipment throughout Ward 1. It's just sort of sloppily excess cable hanging off of poles, draping low across sidewalks where, like, even children have to duck to go under them. I just hope we can find a way to communicate with Comcast about how they can be a bit better neighbors to all of us here in Riverdale Park in terms of maintaining their equipment.
Okay, I I will actually reach out to the town manager and see if we can contact governmental affairs person for Comcast and ask them about that, because I think that is an issue and I've noticed it myself for many years. So I'll take that up. Give me just a moment to add that to my list.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Town manager will tell you I have a long list of things we discussed.
Oh, I don't think we need the town manager to tell us that. But that's all I had. I didn't know if you were waiting on me.
No, I'm trying to get the note in here. I don't
Understood.
get it in my notes here, then it's never gonna happen.
I can also just send an email. So.
I'm almost done. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Any additional council comments on the motion to adopt ordinance 2024-OR-01? Are there any public comments? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith, Ward 1.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is a motion to adopt resolution 2024-R-02 regarding vision and commitment to professional and well-trained employees. May I please have a motion to adopt resolution 2024-R-02.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Callan. Is there any discussion of this motion and the resolution and the vision and commitment statement to professional and well-trained employees? Okay, are there any public comments? I will just say that we've been working on this one for a couple of months now, and I think it's a very nice statement. I know there's a lot of staff input to this, and I think it's great. I think we're ready to go. So I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. Third legislative action item is motion to adopt resolution 2024-R-03 regarding a vision and commitment to transportation. May I please have a motion to adopt resolution 2024-R-03.
I
So
move.
moved. Seconded.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Callan, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there discussion of the motion to adopt resolution 2024-R-03 regarding vision and commitment to transportation? Are there any public comments? I will say that I think that this revision was deep. It was a deep revision of this vision and commitment statement, and I think it's greatly improved and focuses on safety of transportation among the many other issues, much more than the old one did. So I think that's a good thing. Any additional discussion? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda, new business, review of vision and commitment statements, ethical governance and best practices, technology and data. Can we please look at this draft statement? Okay, I think there's a little bit more, but is there anything in here that council would like to provide feedback to staff on?
I'm all right with it.
Okay. Where's the discussions of technology and data? I'm trying to find that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please go ahead.
Director Barnes, that was added late today, correct?
Yes, it was. And Mayor Thompson, if I may, it's just, this is a brand new vision and commitment statement. So this
Okay.
is completely new content for the council to consider, and staff would greatly appreciate any input or feedback.
Okay, I think I'm gonna have to look at the version that was released earlier today and provide some feedback between now and the next meeting. But the the title is very interesting, and I was just trying to find, where the last few new items had information, and it sounds like I was looking at an old version, so that's okay. Okay, any additional council input on this during this meeting?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Smith, go ahead.
Apologize, I had not reviewed this document before, but just wondering if there is any discussion of privacy here.
Well,
as it relates to
that's
technology
part of what I
data.
was expecting. And so that's why I was asking. So so do you think that there should be some discussion of that?
Well, I think my my positions on automated enforcement are well known in this body. And would as such, I would love to see some discussion of data privacy in this vision and commitment statement.
Okay. And so I think that that's a reasonable request. I have a few ideas, but they're so half-baked, I don't even want to discuss them right here, just about providing data in a variety of formats that we might be able to share with our residents for them to be able to understand things better. So we'll see. Okay, I will review this, and Councilor Inyang, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, I think I agree on the privacy, and I think for me the sort of the title, the best practices, technology and data. I think best practices, I'm not sure what that means exactly, but if we're talking about sort of data privacy, governance, stuff like that, like I would probably get clear in terms of what are we trying to accomplish. And the third whereas that it cites a lot of organizations. I know we've done that in the past in terms of like citing, especially like I think the transportation one, where we kind of talk about the bodies that are responsible for some of this. I don't necessarily know if it's adding the same level of value, because one, the list is not going to be exhaustive, and two, like it's kind of tough to go through. But I get I just wonder if like, if we start adding in privacy, some other stuff, this thing can get really long. So you may look for opportunities to maybe shrink and cut down. So I would just ask staff to think about that. And then I think when we talk about privacy data, I don't believe we have anything that talks about like there's sort of the like how we share data, like town employees, like PPI, like, personal identifiable information, HIPAA, that type of stuff as well, which I think is maybe listed somewhere else, but maybe should be incorporated here. But even if it's like a data transparency, it's like another thing of just like what type of information does the town collect and why is it needed? How is it shared? Where is it stored? Those type of things too. So it's such a rich area. I wouldn't be opposed to splitting it up if necessary, if we really want to be a little more clear in terms of what we're trying to do. But I think from all the ones that we've done so far, this has the possibility of getting really, really long. So we may want to like focus in more than others, maybe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Smith, go ahead.
Did I see grins when my hand went up again? No, I would just say to my colleague's concern, which I think is completely founded. We collect a lot of data, much of it fairly invasive on our residents and our visitors to our community. And I think one major concern of mine is that much of that data collection and storage we outsource to parties who are not necessarily bound by open records laws. And so I think, at a minimum, one thing I would like to see in a vision and commitment statement as it relates to data privacy is that any data that we collect or authorize a contracted party to collect, that data collection should be subject to open records laws and transparency regulations.
I'm essentially certain, I'm not, town manager can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm essentially certain that contracting out the storage of data doesn't relieve us of our duty to provide that data if someone requests it. And so the fact that it's stored on somebody else's computer system and that we have to ask them to provide it to us and that might be expensive does not relieve us of that duty in the slightest.
Sure, it doesn't relieve us of that duty, but there is a lengthy court record across many states of the vendors saying that it doesn't, that they are not obligated to release it. And I'm happy to talk more with colleagues. I don't want to bog us down here, but it's a significant issue that many local governments have run into, is that when the data is collected by the governmental party and we want our own data on our residents, they say that's not covered in our contract and we're not subject to open records laws.
Okay, well, I'm happy to continue this discussion. And maybe we just need to be careful of what goes into the contracts that we adopt in order to make sure that happens.
Always wise, and I know we are always doing our best at it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Of course. Okay, any additional feedback to staff on this draft vision and commitment statement? Mr. Town Manager, go ahead.
First, I want to thank the council for the input. This helps us in crafting this. As Director Barnes had said, this is brand new, and so the input is greatly appreciated. And on the agreements, I believe, and we will check and be able to report, Director Barnes, if you can note that we'll report at the work session. But I am unaware of any town agreement that doesn't include language that says that any data or information collected is not subject to the Maryland Public Information Act. So I believe all of our agreements call that out specifically, so we don't run into the issue that other jurisdictions have. Mr. Sussman has done a thorough job in making sure that's included, and sometimes against slight protest of vendors. So I think we're in good shape, but we'll double check.
And of course, as anyone who's taken a contract law class knows, just because it's in the contract doesn't mean you don't end up in court trying to drag it out of the other person. So it's not a guarantee that we can provide it quickly and so on, but it is a guarantee that we can make them pay if they don't. So that's all there is. Okay, unless there's any additional feedback, any feedback from members of the public, any comments or questions about this from members of the public? Councilmember Lingua, I was able to write a note in that said that you had an item under new business, but I didn't write down what it was. So bringing that back to your attention.
Okay. I believe we're going to be talking about something that was brought up during one of the reports. Trying to, let me see here. Let me scroll through my pad here. See if I can find that. Let me take care of the unfinished business and then we'll come back to that item.
That is fine by me. So let's go to unfinished business. Unfinished business item 1. Motion to authorize the town manager to sign an agreement with DNF Construction, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $341,699 for the 54th Place Pocket Park and Tot Lot. May I please have such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Inyang. Is there a discussion of this motion? Actually, can we have a staff report on the status of this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we were planning on it. Director Lewis, if you can walk the council through the need for this, as well as the reference back to how we were solving the shortfall in this project.
Certainly. Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the community. Securing a contractor now to prepare the site for the 54th Place Pocket Park and Tot Lot will put the final component of this project in place and help to ensure that the project timeline is met. The mayor and council approved the concept plan for the playground last year, and the plan has been engineered. The county permit is still pending, but anticipated in March, if not sooner. And the playground equipment and furniture have been ordered, and that contract includes their installation. There were only 2 contractor submissions for this project, and only the bid submitted by DNF Construction met all of the submission requirements. The company's bid price is $276,416 and covers the excavation of existing hardscape, grading and soil stabilization across the entire site, installation of the walkway and other turf work, trees, hedges, and the perimeter fence and gate or gates. There are actually 2, and the installation of a speed hump on Riverdale Road near the entrance to the park to calm traffic on this roadway near the entrance and allow safe crossing from the north to south sides of Riverdale Road. As previously mentioned, the playground equipment vendor, LSI, will install the playground equipment, the engineered wood fiber and poured in place rubber surface at the equipment sites, and LSI and DF Construction must work closely together to sequence and coordinate the work so that the project's June completion date is met. The project budget is $503,334, with a little over 60% of that already committed and spent on the concept, design, engineering, and the commitment to purchase the playground equipment, the delivery costs, and the installation of the turf beneath those pieces of equipment. This leaves a balance of $165,000 and a gap of about $170,000. As mentioned in the CIP presentation, staff is proposing to close this gap by transferring funds from the Queensbury parking lot project. This amount must be replaced in the FY 2025 budget so that project can proceed. Meanwhile, the engineering for the parking lot has been completed and the county's permit and issue is pending. Construction of that project is expected to begin in late summer. If the funds are replaced in FY 25, then that project can stay on schedule. Again, with your support of this motion, we'll put the last component of the project in place. And with that, I'll take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lewis. Are there council questions for Director Lewis? Are there public comments or questions for Director Lewis on this project or for at all for the motion to authorize the town manager to sign an agreement?
I move.
Now, the motion has been made and seconded. Caitlin Weinbrenner has her hand up. Please go ahead.
Okay. I've been the one lurking in the Zoom for this whole time. I emailed you earlier, Director Lewis. I'd like to ask you just a few questions. I'm with the College Park here and now. So as discussed earlier in the meeting, the project has gone over budget. Despite its costs, why do you think that this is an important project for the Riverdale Park community?
This is an absolutely important and essential project for this community. It's east of the river. It's a high density multifamily community with a lot of low income residents and a diverse community that currently lacks this kind of facility close to the multifamily developments in that part of our community. So this will be highly accessible within walking distance of a lot of the apartments in that location.
Thank you.
We're actually pretty excited about it. This is the town's first project that we will own and maintain, and we're happy that we're at this stage. Again, this is the final component to fall into place to actually complete the project.
It seems like it's been a long road, and I'm glad that it's going well for you guys. Just one more question. How do you think that the park may impact other local communities surrounding the area, like University Park, Hyattsville, College Park?
Can't speak to that. Again, this is a neighborhood amenity, which we think is going to be well used by the residents in this part of our town.
They'll be wildly jealous. That's my answer.
that we can agree on.
This is a great park, and they'll be jealous of us.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Any additional public comments or questions or council discussion? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Kellon.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item under, Councilmember Lingua, the town manager believed your item under new business was the Walk Bike Drive Advisory Committee. Is that correct?
Yes, because that was the last thing that he had brought up in his report. And I was asking about the process going forward. And that we were gonna, he was saying, well, this was really something more for the council to provide input on to staff. So, and hence the reason to bring it up under new business.
Okay, so do we want to direct the staff to bring us a draft proposal for such a committee? We've seen some early drafts of what it might look like. So do we want to have them bring something up to the work session, if at all possible?
Helps if I hit my microphone.
It does.
Yes, yes. Sorry, first day with the new index finger. I think this discussion would be better had once we get through the rest of the unfinished business items that we have here.
Okay.
That being the bus stop improvement CIP project and the Riverdale Park Community and Municipal Center project update. And then we can go back and get back into a discussion about that.
Okay, I will move it down below on my screen. I will do my best to move it below anyway. Well, you need to help me. Okay, let's go to the.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Let's go to unfinished business. Item 2, update on bus stop improvement project, CIP number 20 DS02.
Director Shelton, can you walk us through this, please?
I would be happy to. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and members of the public. At the last work session meeting, staff updated the Mayor and Council on our bus stop improvements project. We put the project out to bid, and bids were due on January 31st. Our intention was to bring the chosen vendor for Mayor and Council approval tonight. Unfortunately, the one bid that we did receive was more than 4 times the engineer's estimate. It's staff's suggestion that our staff are going to reissue the bid request, providing more time for potential vendors. And while this is taking place, staff will search for a contract to ride. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any
Mr. Mayor-
questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Go ahead, Councilmember Lingua.
less a question, more a comment, really. Where it stands right now and what you're proposing makes a great deal of sense. Hopefully we can move forward on this.
Any additional council questions, comments? Okay, I've lost my PDF viewer for the moment, so thank you for bringing the agenda back up. Last item under unfinished business is the Riverdale Park Community and Municipal Center Project, 6601 Baltimore Avenue. I think it was last week that discussed that both the town manager and I have been having some intense discussion with staff in Congressman Ivy's office, and that continued today at the event I discussed during my report. And I'm hopeful we're going to make some progress. The reports we're getting back is that the staff are consulting with other congressional staff who have successfully gone through similar processes, and so we're hopeful to see some good progress on that. Mr. Town Manager, do you have additional items to add to that?
No, sir, I think that's a nice succinct summary.
Okay, very good. So that brings us back to the untouched item. Well, are there any other items of unfinished business to address this evening? Hearing none, well, let's go back to the last item of new business, the Walk Bike Drive Advisory Committee. Councilmember Lingua, do you want to discuss that?
Yes, I mean, from what I've heard, pardon me, thank you very much. From what I'm understanding, we have 14 folks who are very interested, which is a fantastic amount of folks looking to volunteer to contribute to this committee. And I think it would behoove us to come up with, and this is kind of off the top of the head, so I'm very welcome to, very open and would welcome suggestions on this. Ideas on setting up a structure and a scope that we as a council would think would be effective in producing a group that's going to be able to provide input back to staff and to the council on what can be improved or modified throughout the town as it regards the walk, bike, drive initiative that we've enacted on behalf of the residents. Where that goes, I'm not really sure, but sounds like we have a it looks like we have a hot iron here, and it's best if we're able to move on it with some expediency.
Agreed, and that's part of the reason that I thought when you brought it up that we should discuss it under new business. I've asked staff to pull up the advertisement for the committee that was generated back in December. That was posted on social media. So, Mr. Town Manager, can you bring it up on screen?
Director Barnes or Ryan, can you pull up the ad? I imagine Director Barnes probably could make that happen.
Just from memory, then I can say that there were, I believe, 4 classes of members. So there were supposed to be people with an urban planning or transportation design background. I believe there might have been perhaps an education background class of member, and I can't remember the others. Those are the ones that are on top. So I hope I entertained you while we were waiting for this to come up.
And there we have it.
The civil engineering, accessibility, urban bicycling, schools, and resident and business. So that's the membership, and then the action or the charter for this advisory committee would be to advise us on the CIP. And the walk, bike, drive safety initiative programs and plans. And I believe that at least in some discussions I've had that there was an expectation of regular reports to the council, maybe quarterly. Does that sound correct, Mr. Town Manager?
I don't recall how often, Mr. Mayor, but I think a report to the council is going to be important, as well as presenting a meeting schedule to the council of maybe for an annual meeting schedule. So
right.
Yeah,
I remember that they would after organization they would present a schedule of meetings, and so that we would know. So does that sound reasonable to you, Councilmember Lingua, and other members of the council? Thoughts?
Yeah, it does sound reasonable to me. In terms of a schedule, I mean, I remember the traffic study committee would meet monthly, pretty much on a monthly basis, and I believe they would take off, I think, during the summer month because people were normally away. So I think we're looking at something. This is a group that's meeting anywhere between 6 and 9 times a year, or between 4 and 9 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be substantial enough. I think, though, it may be something that that might be a parameter we may just want to offer to the committee and let them, determine a meeting schedule as they would feel comfortable with.
Oh, I think it's essential that we let them set the meeting
Yeah.
schedule, but
Oh, absolutely.
I think that setting some expectations that they will report, make a report to us on a regular basis is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And we can even, allow them to provide some input on that. We could say, somewhere between, I don't think we want monthly reports, but somewhere between every 3 months and 2 times a year, so 2 to 4 times a year. And say, but if they really want to come in, they want to come in on a particular topic another time, then we could allow that. So just provide that sort of input.
Well, I know one thing that I think that would be important for them to, comment on is, at budget time.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I think it's very important.
Okay. I see a
And
couple of other.
In those months leading up to as well. Thank
Sure.
you.
See a couple of other hands up. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just, add to the enthusiasm for this committee, of course, and just say I'd like to see a bit. I don't know if more teeth is the right term. It's not giving them the authority to act like that. It's more like some sort of requirement for us as a body when there is safety legislation pending or something like that to seek input from the advisory committee rather than them coming to talk to us at budget time and delivering minutes from 4 annual or 9 annual whatever it is meetings. I'd just like to see them be an integral part in our transportation and pedestrian safety planning and sort of all
Okay.
areas that touches.
So my suggestion in that would be to put in the charter that we can, request that a representative, one or more representatives of the committee attend a given council meeting where legislation under their level of expertise is being considered.
Sounds good.
Okay. Councilmember Inyang?
Yes, I actually really support that. I think two things I think one is just like the from just the people that I know who have applied and told me that they have applied. I think there's definitely a lot of enthusiasm and expertise, and so I agree we would be missing an opportunity if we just got something in writing, 2 times a year. And so a more active participation, I think that makes a ton of sense. I think 2 was also just around I had a question just around the timing of it. Like you mentioned, 14 people applied. Are all 14 going to be on it? Is there going to be transparency in terms of like these people applied and these people got it, or we're just going to get a slate at the end? Was sort of a question I have. And then 3, since so much of this, since funding is such a large part of the discussion in terms of like adequate grant, access to grants and filing it, managing, tracking, like I know there was talk about creating an email address that's sort of more centrally located. I think it would be good to sort of think about how we would want this committee to, in terms of like, should they be the funnel in which things come into? Do they have access to it, or does the town want to sort of if you send an email to whatever for these types of things? I think just how they fall into the triage process would be one thing to think about. I don't have a clear answer. And then I think 2, I think it'd be helpful to get sort of a level of for them to sort of maintain some sort of running list of sort of active grant proposals or funding sources that they're looking into. I feel like there's a large percentage of like some of the confusion that comes in. It was just the there's vast amounts of like pots of money and like who's doing what and are we applying? Does it make sense for us? So even if they don't give us a report every time. I think just even if it's like a centralized, like, hey, we're working through a list of like 30 different funding sources, and we've kind of categorized them and something that's sort of up to date, similar to the way we get like the finance reports that are kind of just part of the meeting minutes. You know, we can go through quickly, or maybe it's part of like a consent agenda where we don't vote on it per se, but we just sort of see it. I think something that gets towards it becomes part of our rhythm of business. That's not just a one-off really big thing, but more so everyone is accountable for some of the ongoing issues that's in their charter.
Okay. Mr. Town Manager, you have a comment?
Yes, a couple. I think we'll need very clear direction if a advisory group is going to be getting involved in finance and applying for grants or almost assuming that role of making decisions on what grants are going to be pursued and things of that nature. I think that that's going to have to be very carefully crafted as the town staff are charged with doing that now, and then figuring out if you are taking that responsibility and moving it to this group, how that group is going to interact and I guess directly with the council in determining if matches are available and priorities and things of that nature. So I would just urge caution that if the council is going to have a advisory group take on the role of developing finance plans, that's very carefully crafted. The other thing, just for clarity, I don't believe anyone has applied. Because Director Barnes has been very clear with me that we've asked for if people had an interest because we knew that just this type of conversation would occur, and the council first has to create the organization of the advisory committee and figure out the charter and what the committee would do. And our marching orders were to measure interest in the community. And we're reporting back that there seems to be sufficient interest in the community for the council now to have these discussions, decide what it is that you want, and then to move forward.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Town Manager. Appreciate that. Councilmember Enyang, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the clarification too. I would say we should move quickly because I don't think that's I think if we ask the people who sort of like raise interest, I don't think it's clear that I think people are in a holding period of like what's going on with this thing, thinking that they've applied per se because some people send in resumes, right? And so the idea of like you raising your hand versus you're being appointed, I think is like I understand what you're saying completely, but I think we want to probably check in with those who have applied or who have raised their hand and make it clear that there are a couple more steps that have to happen, and you may not actually be part of this just because you showed interest may not be the case. And so I think that's just one point. It's a great thing to clarify that we want to make sure. And then I think for the first part, I would hate to imply that I was saying that we would be sort of moving budget responsibilities to an advisory committee. I think it's more so we've had conversations in the past about it's not necessarily a question of identification of particular funds, right? But it's also some of it is tracking, some of it is funds, some of it is actually like the manpower to sort of chase these things down. Some of it is grant writing, right? And so I sort of see it as a muscle that the town could use to exercise to sort of supplement to work with town staff. But some of these folks are just like, I know pots of money and that's what I know about it, but the process of sort of like going in or prioritization or like I wouldn't expect an advisory committee to have that type of insight. But I think it would be something that, as a as a council and staff, we want to be proactively thinking about how best we utilize this, and are there processes in place that we can create so that you can allow folks to like go off and do what you do and bring it in, and so that it's managed. Because I do have a concern of we create a committee like this, there's a level of like legitimacy that's given, and then folks kind of feel the need to speak on behalf of the town or apply for stuff. And so just finding ways to like channel that energy that I've already seen. And I'm speaking because I've already gotten emails from people with like, and I try to forward as many as possible. And I got kind of tired at one point. It's just, hey, what do you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And so I know there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of, a lot of expertise in terms of some of these places. And so just, being thoughtful in how we harness that, I think will be really key.
Mr. Town Manager?
Yes, Councilmember Yang, I appreciate the clarity there. We've mentioned in a previous budget discussion wanting to ensure that our ARPA manager / grant writer position continues. And I think that if it's a capacity issue, an organization of our size, we're a $9.4 million organization, that we should then look to expand and hire someone for additional grant writing in that. If we do run into a capacity issue, would be my recommendation to the council. Instead of relying on a volunteer to do the grant writing, the award tracking, there's as I think we all are aware, there's so much that goes into grants, and you can't have a misstep along the way. And I just think that those duties should remain under a town's employee. But certainly folks that have knowledge of things can provide us insight, and folks that have specialty knowledge can provide us with some insight that maybe increases our likelihood to receive a grant. And I would commit on behalf of the staff team that we would welcome that sort of input.
Okay. One topic that sort of came up during Councilmember Inyang's, in my mind, statement is that we could tell the committee members put in their charter that any written report that they wish to submit to the council would be distributed as part of the council materials. And so if they want to present a written report each month of what their status is and what's going on and what they think we should be paying attention to, and that might include funding opportunities that have a deadline in the near future that the council might want to know about, then I think that would be a good feature to have in the charge. Mr. Town Manager, go ahead.
My last comment, Mr. Mayor, is that in the original language, it said that the committee would provide advice to the council and the staff team. And so I would envision that the staff team would work closely with the committee. I would have the police chief, the director of public projects and services attending their meetings to make sure there's an inclusive discussion about these important endeavors here. And so I think that working closely with staff representatives will help achieve what I'm hearing council members say.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any additional council or public discussion of this topic?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a question here to ask.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Why do we need these advisory committees?
Is that your question?
Yeah, I have more, but let them answer this question first. Why do we need them to advisory?
So there are members of our population who are interested in being part of the walk, bike, drive, seeing the implementation of the walk, bike, drive initiative, safety initiative. And many of them have immense expertise, and they are very interested in contributing that expertise to the town's activities in this area. And so it would be, as I was having a conversation with the Director of Planning for the county about the Mixed Use Town Center Local Design Review Committee, and the fact that people with immensely high skill sets were contributing their time and energy to advising us on design of buildings, design of the area, and that because they had a personal stake in it, then sometimes they would spend much more effort than professional staff even might, and contractor staff anyway. And so county staff anyway. And so that's part of the reason we want to do this, is we want to channel some energy and some desire to see things improve that we are seeing in the population into a productive form. And as I said, there are people in the town, residents who have immense knowledge and expertise in these areas. We want to tap into that.
Okay, if I may ask, what about the staffs that they are working with the town manager? Are they not qualified?
So
I'm listening.
Excuse me, I put the mute button on to try to silence the cat behind me. So let's talk about one of the expressions of interest that I saw. And that was from a person who lives in town who is very interested in bicycle safety. And she is an avid bicyclist. She has a degree from MIT, and she has immense knowledge about the current bicycle infrastructure, what it's like to be out there. I don't know that we have expertise like that on staff. Mr. Town Manager, do we have bicycling expertise that has that level of knowledge?
Not that level of knowledge, Mr. Mayor. And when you're finished, I would like to respond as well.
Of course. And I think that in other areas we do have levels of expertise in public safety, public education about topics like this, but those staff are also doing many other things. And so we may be able to, again, tap into community resources in order to enhance the ability of the staff to tap into this. Mr. Town Manager, you want to dive in and comment?
Yeah, I would just broaden my reply a little bit and say that it's my experience that in local governance, having an active group of residents is a positive thing. It communicates clearly to the council what residents' concerns and interests are. And that's kind of a cornerstone of our representative government, right? And so we have folks that have interest in sustainability and in trees and invasive species of trees. And so the sustainability group is very active, and they assist the town in gaining a certification, but so much more. They assist the town in forming the narrative of who we are and what's important to the community. And then my staff team, we engage with these residents and we learn from them and they learn from us. And so they kind of serve as an advisory group as well. And I think that when I look at other local governments, there are these types of advisory committees to get broad-based community input to supplement the professional staff. It's not that the professional staff aren't making the decisions on what the recommendation is to the council, but to have additional input by the folks that reside in town, that pay our salaries through their taxes, to say, hey, here's our insight, here's our priorities, here's what we would like to see. I think all those things add value and help define who Riverdale Park is as a community. And I find value in hearing different perspectives, and I know my staff finds value in hearing different perspectives. And I think that helps us serve our residents better. And for all those reasons, when staff recommended that the council may want to consider this, we see value in hearing perspectives from different folks. Yes, the town has contract engineers, sure. And so we do pay people to give us advice, but it's nice to get advice from others, the people who live here.
You done? Because I have another question for you.
Go
Yes.
ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. Town Manager, well, if you are determined to get an advisor, so we're going to make an exchange. Some of your staff that are not qualified should be dismissed and employ another people to replace them. Are you comfortable
Mr. Mayor,
with that?
point of order.
Are you comfortable with that?
Point of order,
Because
Mr. Mayor.
I see no reason. Excuse me, let me finish.
No,
Point of order.
no, point of order.
No. Excuse me.
Please silence Councilmember
my leg.
Callan. Please silence him.
I'm on
Mr. Mayor,
my
I believe that the council member is engaging in personalities.
listen to me. I'm on my leg.
You
If you
believe that, Miss Councilmember Callan, please be silent for a moment. I've had a point of order raised. Councilmember Smith, can you please be a little bit more specific?
I believe that the council members' comments were personally directed at the character of folks present in the meeting, which is not one, the item up for discussion in the agenda, but two, as I understand, Robert's rules would make those comments out of order.
Such comments would be out of order. I'm unsure that that he was heading there. But I am also a little bit insensitive. I've been called so many names over so many years that I don't notice it as much as other people do. I would rephrase what Councilmember Callan said as him being concerned that town staff that are doing some of these jobs would, and had expertise, would be put onto other work. And stating it that way, because there was an advisory committee that was taking over their jobs. And stated in that way, I don't know that it would be offensive. Did you hear something that was more specifically aimed at another member of the council or at staff?
I would welcome the opportunity for the council member to revise those remarks, but as I heard it, it was a question of the competency of our town staff. And we, as you know, Mr. Mayor, have extensive personnel evaluation processes that determine those sort of things. And I think we can be very proud of the way our staff has performed on those. And as such, it is not a
Okay,
remark that
yeah.
I see as grounded in the issue that we're discussing here, and rather one of a personal nature.
Okay, I'm going to take your point of order and allow Councilmember Kellon to continue speaking with, and I hope he will take your remarks into account. Councilmember Kellon?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. You see, why I'm bringing this talk, I'm thinking that all the staffs that are working with the town manager, most of them are experts. They can advise us. They have engineers, they have qualified people. But if you said, these people cannot advise us what to do, or we cannot advise them. So it means the people that are working with the town manager, the staffs, most of them are not qualified. Why are we looking for advisors while we have engineers, well-educated people?
Mr. Mayor.
Why?
Are you done with your remarks?
The council member is telling me to reverse my word. I'm going to add more. I didn't finish yet. I'm coming. Okay? So, yes, Mr. Town Manager, I'm listening to you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Town Manager, go ahead.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Shelton, Director Lewis, Chief Turner, Lieutenant Slattery, leave the meeting. Be the host. Okay. Lieutenant Slattery, leave the meeting. Ms. Barnes, thank you. Mr. Mayor, may I respond to the council member's inquiry?
Please do.
Respectfully, sir. We have staff that are credentialed through professional degrees. We have staff that have decades of experience. The town does not employ an engineer. We have contracted engineers, but we do not employ an engineer. In terms of the size of the staff that work on various issues, we're a very small core group of staff. We have a CPA on staff who handles our finances, as well as Mr. Smith, who has 4 decades of experience in finance and human resources. Most of our staff in this small group belong to a variety of professional organizations, many of which are listed in that vision and commitment statement that Councilmember Inyang referenced. We're members of those organizations. And I think we live up to really good, high standard of conduct and delivery of service. Because we want to hear someone else's opinion. That's not a negative reflection on any member of our staff. Actually, that's our job. Our job is to listen to the residents and the council and to seek guidance so we can formulate the best recommendations we can, the best practices that we can develop to make recommendations to the council. That's our job. And I find it inappropriate to suggest that the town staff should not listen to what our residents have to say, whether it's a formal advisory committee or just a group of residents who bring forth an opinion. That's our job, is to listen to input and to seek out the best advice we can get to then formulate recommendations to the council. I think we do that very well. I appreciate the response from other council members tonight. But I will also add that the council has one employee. That's me. And I'm not going to have the rest of my leadership team that works early hours, late hours, doing the best they can, seeking and listening to our residents, only to be told that they don't know what they're doing and they should be fired. I won't have them attend such a meeting. My comments are concluded, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Councilmember Inyang, you had your hand up. Do you wish to speak?
You know, I'll just say that I think what's unique about our town is the fact that residents are such at the core of what we do. We give residents the opportunity to comment on everything. They are essentially council members of our body, in spirit. And so it would be hubris to not take advantage of some of the best minds and some of the topics that we're talking about, whether it's sustainability or is safety. The entire sort of DMV area happen to live in our community. They happen to sort of like shop at our stores, walk our streets. They're members of our community. And so, you know, I think what the town manager mentioned, where if they were just a group of residents who came to our meetings and spoke, they would have just as much reason to talk as I do. And I love that. Right. And so getting them organized and sort of directing that passion towards literally some of the most important things we talk about when we talk about safety. We've all seen what the stakes are. I can't believe we're even having this conversation, to be honest. But you know, I'm not as gracious as the town manager. He chose his words better than I can right now. I'm extremely disappointed that this continues to be an issue, not just like differing opinions, that's perfectly fine, but I think the manner in which we talk and sort of have these conversations is really troubling to me. And it's a reminder that, like, you know, we've got some stuff to pick up. I got a workbook here that's talking about root cause analysis that we probably need to dust off. And so, you know, it's a new year. I appreciate the staff. Unfortunately, I think I know I'm sort of reacting to this seems very familiar, that we've had this conversation before. And so I love the fact that we have residents. We have 14 people who've raised their hand, willing to sort of do gruntless, you know, thankless work that they're not going to be paid for. They know it up front, and they're willing to do it because they can serve. And that's their way of serving. And that's what makes our town beautiful. And I appreciate that. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Foe.
I'm trying to understand how we got here. Councilmember Callan, I walk in, we're talking about an advisory committee to this town on behalf of major traffic accidents in our community, and it leads to us insulting our staff. I don't understand the segue that allows one to connect the other. The 14 members that have applied, I can't speak to all of them, right? But I've encouraged multiple candidates, some of the most intelligent people I've ever encountered in my entire life. Some people who have resumes that I cannot even stand up to in any forum at all, want to help us out, right? And when you convey that to trying to call our staff incompetent, it is, to me, I've been on this council for 8 years. I know that Councilmember Lengua and Councilmember Thompson have been for almost double that time. This town staff is composed of some of the most competent and professional people that I have ever been around in my entire life. People that unprofessionally, from my own vantage point, I would ask personal information, life information. They are so qualified in what it is that they do. you got to stop doing this. This is not tenable behavior for you to remain on the
Point of order,
council.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Foe, that is definitely, you are,
Mr. Mayor, can I come in?
no. You can,
Because
put
I'm
your-
the
you
one
can,
who,
you
I'm the one
can, you can
who
put
brought-
your, Councilmember Kellon, you can put your hand up. Councilmember Smith had his hand up previously.
I'm done speaking.
Okay, Councilmember Foe was heading into bad territory, and so if you'd like to put your hand up, or if I will recognize you after Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would concur with the comments of my colleagues, and particularly Councilmember Foe from the second ward. I hope to remind our colleagues that I'm always this entire council are always advocating being able to pay our staff more than we do, and as the town manager will remind us, we already pay them competitively well, and it's because we as a town punch above our weight. The primary reason I think for that is, well, the first reason is our residents. We have a wonderful community here. The next reason is because, as much as I and all of us love serving this council, this is something we get to do a few hours a week. Some of us more hours than others, Mr. Mayor. The people that make this town run are the people that the town manager asked to leave the meeting earlier, and the folks that work in their shops. This area is not lacking for municipal governments, and our ability to continue to punch above our weight as a town depends on us being able to retain the incredibly talented, incredibly qualified staff that we have. And as the town manager mentioned, having them have to endure this kind of rhetoric repeatedly directed at their performance, their competencies, their persons, is not going to help us continue to grow as a town. And I would, specifically like to say to my colleague in the 6th ward that that's a ward for a variety of reasons. I think a lot of us would agree are have to do with structural issues historically in the town. Ward 6 hasn't always had the most active representation, and I remark regularly to colleagues what a delight it is to have someone active and engaged and representing the residents of Ward 6 in this body, and in this body regularly. And anyone that can say they do those things, I'd like to have them on the council. I'd like to have them remain on the council. So I hope that no one takes this as personal attacks, but we have to be able to conduct ourselves professionally as a body, and as the folks that this staff shows up every day to support. And I hope we can all keep that in mind and remember that we're trying to continue to grow a town here that's really great and is really great, but one of the primary reasons is our staff. So, Mr. Lerstitian, I commend your professionalism, and I hope at least the sentiment of the remarks that the council has made towards the end of the session tonight can be relayed as appropriate to the staff, and that we can continue to move forward here and not keep getting bogged down by these sort of things. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Kellon, please
Yes.
remember to address me.
Yes,
Only me.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'm happy these 2 council members, they have come to my side. You know why? They said all the staff, they are well qualified. They have already mentioned that. So if they were not qualified, that's what I said. If they were not qualified, they should be dismissed. But they said the staffs are all qualified. Why do we need advisors? They can advise us, we can advise them. They will have a member of the public in this forum. They themselves can give their own view what we are doing. Now they said, they already said it. Say the staffs are all well qualified. I'm happy for that. They are well qualified. Okay? Then Mr. Fo, it been so about traffic advice, accident advice. You know, if you know the meaning of accident, traffic accident, when somebody's driving, can you go, when he's driving, can you go and advise him, hey, go, don't go to back. It's a sudden hit. The meaning of accident, traffic accident is sudden hit. You don't know when it is happening. That's the definition of traffic accident, sudden hit, unless those who are doing it by willful. But all traffic accident is sudden hit. That's the definition of traffic, sudden hit. The time your attention is not there, or you mistakenly you watching somewhere before you think it's an accident. It caused by sudden hit. But Mr. Mayor, I'm happy. My two colleagues, they said all the staff are qualified. So this is my point. That's the point I brought up. But now they confirm that these staffs are well qualified. They have been working there for long. So you see, we can advise them, they can advise us. Why do we need another additional people to spend money to hire them? Are we looking for money? You see where I'm coming from? So this is my take. Thank you.
So I'm going to just make a few short remarks, and then I'm going to suggest that we might want to adjourn and pick up this topic in a future meeting. And the only thing that that I want to say is that, first of all, that I very much trust and rely on the professionalism and the knowledge and the experience of the staff every day, 24 hours a day, seven days a week, 365 days a year. And I know that they are professional. I see in their work that they are professional, and I trust them. We ask the residents for help all the time. We ask the residents to call in things that they see. Do they see a tree that needs trimming? Do they see a pothole that's forming? Do they see a crime that's being prevented? Do they see something that might be a crime being prevented that's happening? And this is just an extension of that we are asking them for assistance and where to focus the attention of the staff and how to prioritize the things that we could possibly do, but we can't possibly do all of them. And so that is where I'm going to close my remarks, is that we do ask the town residents for help all the time. Almost every month, we ask them for help in something or another. I ask them for help in addressing this by saying, please aggressively obey the traffic laws wherever you drive in town. So I think we do need the input. Those of us even on the council can lose touch, lose contact with the residents. So it's good to have as much contact as we can. Does anyone else need to make a comment tonight?
Motion to adjourn.
That's a high priority motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Inyang, seconded by Councilmember Smith.
Hello. Mr. Smith, okay.
I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Kellogg.
Aye. Thank you to all of you.
I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned at 10:59 p.m.
Good night.